Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life here, and we are going to spit out some ideas. Ideas of things we'd like to see from bands this year, specifically albums or EPs. So the idea was, hey, it's 2021 and everyone's going to be releasing music as per usual. But what would we actually like to see from certain bands this year? And for me, I thought it'd be really easy. And then I'd check and be like, oh, this band says they're going to release something this year anyway. Well, that eliminates that and so on and so forth.
Even more thorough than me then.
Oh, God. Well, that'd be interesting then. Because there's a couple.
What I wanted, and then if they were, or if I checked after and there were a couple that were, I was like, I'll result. But that doesn't mean, especially with the way things have been, that it will come in 2021. So I was like, well, this is what I want in 2021.
That is completely fair, because one of my first choices was Blind Guardian, and then I was like, oh, their new album might be out by May, apparently. And it's like, well, I got to fucking include that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's 10 from different varying sizes of the bands, depending upon each other's taste. But I'd imagine there'll be a couple here we double up on. One specifically, when I wrote it, I was like, yeah, you're sure to have this band on this list. So you can get a start then. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one for me, this isn't in any particular order, but I would like to see a full album from Alien Weaponry.
Oh, wow. Incredible. Okay.
I know obviously 2 come out 2018, so, a reasonable amount of time back. I know they've had a lineup change. I know that they've been releasing, there is a couple of singles and they released like a mini EP in between. But, the hype was there and the hype was real and they backed it up. But like all of these things, man, that sophomore release is so critical. And not leaving it too long also is, so I think 2021 should be the year that we see Alien Weaponry back up their brilliance, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one I don't have it, but I 100% agree. What Brendan said there, it can't be stressed enough. We heard the hype. Neither of us gets on hype trains. No. We're very wary of it. But we went and watched Alien Weaponry at Bloodstock, and we got it. We understood. We walked away going, oh, okay, this is real. And you're right. Obviously, a lineup change. A significant member of the band swapped out as well, right? Weren't it? I can't remember.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure he's on bass. Is he? Is he rhythm guitar? No, I think he's on bass. Yeah, because the singer plays the rhythm guitar, doesn't he? But it's I don't know. He is a significant member, of course he is. But it's another family. It's another friend. It's another person with the same heritage and beliefs and everything like that. So it shouldn't impact on the band, like in any way. I wouldn't have thought. For me, especially these days where everything kind of gets drip fed out, doesn't it? Like so quickly via YouTube and social media and everything like that. Like, if the hype train, which we did get on at the end and it was real, like, you got to you can't leave it too long, can you? You know what I mean? And we're talking like into year 3, before we get a proper full-on follow-up. So I don't know, problem with that. That's about right for me, but, I wouldn't want to see 2021 go by with still silent from the Alien Weaponry camp.
Fair point. Awesome. Well, my first one is one that's popped up on this list a couple of times, except this time it comes with a much less interested, and it's purely because I want to see what this band are like these days more than anything else, and it is Tour Assess. I find these days I don't care as much as I used to. Like, I'm not like, oh God, they better release something this year. I'm more like, if they do, they don't. Because we are now talking nearly about 8 years. 8 fucking years. And here's the thing. That might make you think, oh, this band is defunct. This band is not operating. So this band is still playing live. But honestly, just drawn from material 2013 before, that is a shocker. And I don't know what's going on there, but man, oh man, I just want to know, like, if they came out with a new EP or an album this year and it's shit, then I can be like, you know what? That's me done. There we go then. Or if it's still like, holy shit, this is incredible. And in 2021, 8 years later, they're still as unique or clever and interesting as they were back then. That's what I want answered. I want that question fucking answered.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I don't have them on my list this time. This is the first year I haven't in the last whatever amount of years we've been doing this. Yeah, and I remember in all those previous years always saying, like, it's getting to the point where I'm starting to not care. And it's the first year I didn't put it on my list because while I would love them to release an album and I hope it's great, I don't care now. If you don't, you don't. It's kind of actually now more expected that you won't, and that's fine. There's other better bands, like more up-to-date bands I can listen to. Not to say that if they don't, I'll be great, happy, but
fair point.
I'm no longer excited for it. More intrigued. Okay, so my next one then, I doubt you have this one on your list, and this is Scar Symmetry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I felt in love with they were doing this Singularity trilogy, very sci-fi, with a lot of research done into the songs, and then you kind of Google stuff they were singing about, and you'd find out all these hidden fucking groups, like this real thing that people were actually like genuinely attempting to, implant chips into people's brains, and the whole trilogy was very, very clever. And that first part of that came out in 2014, but I did not expect to be waiting for part 2 still in 2021.
Incredible.
And I don't know what's going on. I know something is going on. I know the band have faced issues. There've been lineup changes. There were false starts. There was an announcement of a release date in 2018, then 19, and then it all just went by silenced, and then 20 again, and it was just silence, and that's it. They're still active. It still occasionally gets updated that part 2 coming soon, and it's like, come on, what's happening here? Wow. But yeah, I'm very hopeful that whatever's happened in the last 6-7 years is settled and finally okay, and that they can finally get back to what they want to do, which is like just making music. There's obviously something bigger going on.
Clearly, yeah, clearly something, right?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, incredible story. This next one is probably a more obvious one, as thanks to their social media posts of various band members in what looks like a studio playing instruments, it seems highly unlikely we're going to get this album this year. But it's Ghostbath. 2017 was Star Mourner, so it's been more than long enough. We're touching upon the 4th year in 2021. But this one to me is almost a dead cert. You follow them on Instagram and so on, or Twitter, you'll get these pictures of them, one band member on drums in the studio. So clearly they're working on something. The only thing that makes me go, oh, wow, okay. So it is that definitely going to be a 2021 release? Like, do you know what I mean? You're in the studio. That's still a long way from a completed album, So, but I really want to see what Ghostbath are bringing these days as well. 4 years after Star Mourner, which was an incredible album. I have a lot of confidence in them, and I'd love to see this a new album be the kind of thing that really grabs the mainstream's attention, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've got the exact same. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so pretty much exactly the same things. I hadn't seen much in the way of social media, so I wasn't aware it was a possibility, to be honest with you. So that's good news for me.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah. And I love Ghostbath because they interact with us on social media. They liked our track by track for the first album, Moonlight.
You got like the one positive press news outlet for them, in
That's what we're here for. We love you, Ghostbath. You are darlings to us. Okay, well, we doubled up, so I'm going to come in with a heavyweight here. And this is more intrigue, less about I really want it, because part of me doesn't want it, because I'm worried that it's going to not be something I like. But I'm intrigued to see what it is, and I want it to be this way. I want something new from Machine Head. And I want it to be from Machine Head as their current new lineup. None of this mixing up that we've been getting with these set of releases, these singles and stuff, where it's this band member and that member and the old and new. You said this was your core new band. Let me hear what this new core can do, please. Let me have a new album or an EP or something like that. And I just want to know where Machine Head are at in 2021, because I haven't loved what they've been doing recently. And that's got me in the back foot a bit. So I'm like, okay, maybe a brand new album with this new unit, new unified force, new songwriting, new input from these new band members, and we get something killer. Or the worrying part is it's like more of what we've got so far, and I'm a bit like, oh, I don't love that. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag with Machine Head. Because there have been like some bits I love, like say Circle the Drain, for a fact. I think that's a fantastic track.
I like that one.
But it's just always up and down now. I never know what I'm going to get.
It
So
just
I'm going to kind of segue in on the Machine Head one, which will probably be possibly the reason why we may not get a new Machine Head album.
Cool.
And say that my next one is a new Decapitated album.
Okay, fair
so
do.
the last one was 2017 as well, summer of 2017. The album Anti-Cult, which was fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We saw them then, I think that same year, actually, in August that year at Bloodstock.
You did?
And it was phenomenal. The dude had the longest dreadlocks in history. And every time he headbanged, he was like whipping the other band members in the face. So that was also funny. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic album. And like, I always kind of like Decapitated a bit, but that Anti-Cult turned me into a huge fan. And that's really where I first came to know of Vogue, you know, in that arena. And obviously, he hasn't actually left Decapitated. That's the thing with this whole arrangement. He's in Machine Head and Decapitated. Now, I wrote this one down before I knew this, but it appears that they're. I thought actually it would be the opposite. I thought there would be a delay in getting a Decapitated album purely because Machine Head would be working on stuff.
Right.
But actually, it's the opposite, and it looks like we are probably going to get a new Decapitated album in 2021. And Vogue is at home, and home to them, which is Poland. I believe they're still based in Poland anyway. They were definitely formed in Poland. And they've been working on Decapitated stuff. So I think that may be a reason why we don't necessarily... I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it. What it might mean is the worst case scenario for Machine Head, which is that you will get a Machine Head album completely written by Rob. And with Vogue sent the stuff he has to play.
That is what I'm worried about. I want to see new band members' influence, and I'm not sure we will.
I mean, maybe we will eventually. To be fair, it might not be anyone's fault other than the fact that, Vogue can't fly out of Poland. But yeah, so...
Send a fucking email with your ideas, guys. Zoom.
But I mean, fingers crossed, like, and hopefully of that same quality, but a nice, strong follow-up to Anti-Cult would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Okay, this is one where it hit me and I was like, oh yeah, of course, I would love this. I would really like to see something new from Down this year. The last new release was obviously EP Down 4 Part 2 back in 2014. Now the band, according to online, aren't dead. They're not stopped. It's just they're not doing anything. And obviously, various members in different bands, Crushing Conformity with Pepper and Kirk doing I Hate God. No, I Hate God. Crowbar, yeah. Obviously, Phil's playing around with Scour at the moment, but Scour are on and off thing as well. So it's not impossible. Truth be told, I think it's one of my most unlikely things. I'm not sure if we'll ever see anything from Down again. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't say never. I agree with you. It's probably in the unlikely category, although it would be cool.
Yeah.
I think the problem at the moment, like you said, other than Phil jumps between, I want to do Superjoint for a year, and now I want to do Scour for a year. Yeah. And then he's like, but then as soon as we can tour, I want to be doing Philip H. and Selma and the Illegals doing Pantera stuff. And it's like, it's almost like you could almost do with him dropping a couple projects for a bit. And, I don't know, maybe he does like a rotation. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he'll get back round to Down again.
The Max rotation, right? Max Cavalera does that with like Soulfly Cavalera, a side project, and just constantly rotates them. Yeah.
So maybe it's been a while for Down, so maybe it's soon time to get back to there.
Yeah.
But that would be cool though. It would.
Yeah.
So next one for me, I am going to go with, and this was, I guess, a bit of a cheat because I did know this one was going to be happening, but I'm still fucking excited about it, and that's the new Cradle album.
Oh yes, of course.
They haven't said for 100% that Danny or the band have posted that there will be an album in 2021, but they haven't, as far as I've seen it said like, are we talking like November, December, or are we talking like early in the year?
I might have an update for you there. I don't know how up to date you are, but I saw a few weeks back Danny was talking about tracking vocals. So that's quite...
he's got to do that 4,000 times for each verse, though, isn't
he? Yeah. But that suggested to me, okay, you're pretty heavy into the album then. So
yeah, I was thinking, I saw it, sorry, not earlier on, I saw this week, so first week of February, that they had scheduled in a online streaming event for May.
Oh, is this the church one?
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I know it isn't in any way related to the album, but I did think that, that might be a good time, if you're tracking vocals around now for, and there isn't a lot of details for it other than the fact that the date is booked in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? There's no like blurb along with it for, say, for Cradle are going to be doing this, that, and the other. It's just booked in,
Drop a new track in, that kind of thing?
Yeah, or an album release.
Mm.
A couple of songs in it, a bit of an announcement on the day, a few days before it dropped the album. Because it's a Wednesday night as well, which is a weird one. So you could drop the album on a Friday and then on the Wednesday play a streaming event with a few tracks from it. But I don't know, we'll see. It does look like it's definitely happening this year anyway, unless something happens, that means that they can't for whatever reason.
I mean, they're in this country and they've been living under the COVID rules for the last nearly a year. So you can imagine there's nothing to really delay it. But it's not catastrophic.
It's not like every like Danny needs to wait for every other band's input before before they decide how the album's going to look or be about or what the lyrics are going to be. So
we went a good.
But I'm excited for it, man. Danny, like Cradle for me are on like a real fucking. They never really came massively off the first wave, is the truth of it. There was a bit of a downward slope where I didn't love albums as much as the initial. But they're on a right second kind of upward curve at the moment. 2 or 3 albums in a row that I just think are fucking brilliant. So yeah, I'm excited. I want more.
Yeah. I mean, I know everything you're saying. I didn't include Cradle because it felt like such a dead cert. One that may not be a dead cert, but realistically will happen in 2021 is I would like to see, you're going to laugh, something new from Ghost. Now, Prequel 2018, it already was that long ago. So we are touching upon, and I think it was late in 2018, so we are only like two and a half years gone. But Ghost are an entity and what likely are becoming more and more a bit of a merch machine, get music out as quick as possible. Papa has said as much about constantly releasing and keeping busy and stuff like that. I'd be very surprised if we don't at least get an EP from Ghost this year. Now, why I want it is because I love Ghost's first 3 albums. I like Prequel. And that was the first time I didn't. And it was the first time a Ghost album, so album number 2 and Festimism, and the one that followed that were both albums of the year for me when they came out that year in our articles on the site. Prequel wasn't. I don't even know if it got in the top 50, let alone like that close. So you can kind of see the train's dropping for me. So then whatever Ghost do next could be a deal breaker for me, where it's like, you know what, I'm not loving this whole more pop orientated mainstream side you're going for. This is where I get off the train. So that's kind of what I want. I want to know where I'm at with Ghost with a new release.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't in my top 50.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I disliked the first 3 albums and disliked Prequel, so I stay consistent throughout.
There you go. No problem for you. Whatever happens,
yeah,
you were going to be kicking yourself if they release a proper furious death metal banger.
I will, but I'll be happy because it's not about the band. I want to like the music. Do you know what I mean? That's the wonderful thing about us. I don't enjoy not liking Ghosts. It's not fair. Sometimes I look at things and go, well, God, I wish I could be on this train.
Yeah, true.
But I can't. So if they release an absolute, which I'm pretty sure they won't, but if they do release like a brutal death metal album or something like that, and I am on board, I'll be happy about it. No, and it'll be a bigger U-turn than Pantera. Well, you might be kicking yourself if you do have to jump off the train, because then even though it won't be true, I can say I told you so for the next 20, 30 years. Okay, so let's go for my next one then. One I'd imagine you will probably have in your list, or maybe I'm being a bit pushy thinking it's coming too early, and that is Mole.
Not on my list. It's not on my list.
It's not. I was a bit back and forward on it because I thought it might be a bit early for it because it was 2019, the last album. Sorry, no, it wasn't.
The 2 EPs.
It was 2018. Yeah, 2019 was the re-release stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so 2018, 3 years ago then, since the last, since Yord came out. So I guess it could be around that time.
Yeah.
But obviously it was such a strong album and, you know, featured very, very highly in all of our lists, and we saw them play with Ghost Bath and they were amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those bands. It's like, I don't know, just want to see what comes next, see if it continues on, you know.
Big one. they're not on my list because generally when I did my 10, I had my 10 and I didn't even think about them. There are one or two things that make me go, you know what, it's very likely we'll get an album probably at the end of the year or the start of 2022. And that is, of course, they have now signed to Nuclear Blast. Yeah. And I can see Nuclear Blast on it. But there's also this thing where it's like, well, Nuclear Blast now have you. Are they going to spend a couple of months pushing and promoting the stuff you already have?
Yeah, it's possible. Re-releasing it, you know.
Yeah. Okay, one then, I'll be shocked if you don't have it then. It is Gojira. Magma came out in 2016. And this, whatever, with the single last year, it feels like it's probably time we're going to get Gojira in 2021. And fuck me, is this a moment? This might be the biggest moment of this band's career. This album has to fucking slay. Otherwise, they're never going to get any bigger. I feel like this is it. This is the deal breaker. And I think it's happening in 2021. When, I don't know, but it'll have been 5 years. That is more than enough time.
Yeah, I don't have it, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think this was one of the ones that I was very aware that it was happening. And I had others, you know. So I was like, oh, I can leave that one off comfortably. I agree with you. You know, it's quite a telling release. I think Gojira are a lot of the main press's baby at the moment, so they'll probably get a little bit of leeway with their, like, for example, the single that got released. I didn't think much of it at all.
Okay.
I think it was okay, but I only didn't listen to it and think like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, whereas every bit of press I read on the single was that it was 10 out of 10, the best song they'd ever written. And I was just like,
I wouldn't have gone that far.
You know, so I think they're going to get a bit of leeway on it anyway. They have to at least hit the peak of Magma, at least, you know what I mean? Because at least for me, from a personal perspective, because I like Magma, but I do think it isn't as good as L'Enfant Sauvage.
That's it. For me, it needs to be another as good as L'Enfant Sauvage. It has to be.
But yeah, so if it comes out and it's, for me personally, a little bit worse than Magma, then I'm continuing on a downward slope.
Yeah.
You know, I could do with it leveling off or raising back up. So,
yeah. But
I hope for the best. I like them a lot.
Cool.
So my next one then is Ni Obliviscaris.
How long has it been?
2017.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So that was obviously. Brilliant album, one of my favorites of that year. I absolutely loved it. Still bash it a lot today. And there was a lot of talk about it coming out, a new album coming out in 2020. I don't think it ever got officially announced, but it was being spoken about.
Right.
And that was hampered by the pandemic. And now it's saying that it will come out in 2021, but there is still at this point no title and no even approximate date. And that's why I left it in my list, because while it looks like it probably will come, that kind of uncertainty around it, you know, with no title, no date, especially if it was meant to be out in 2020, you'd imagine all that stuff was already done, penciled in, ready to go.
Delaying it, yeah.
Yeah. So it sort of suggests to me that it will probably come, but not definitely. But yeah, no, I'm really excited to see the next stage, really, the Aussies' progression through progressiveness.
Cool. Okay, this one's maybe a bit too soon because their last album came out in 2019 and it's the Silver Ghost. And I'd love to get a new album from Child Rain, Spanish heavy metal band who blew me away with the Silver Ghost and stuff like that. Some great interviews on the site. Go check it out on the YouTube channel for that. And yeah, it's just one of those where it's like, man, I really want to follow this up. I really want to hear what comes next. Very, very excited. That's it, really. Simple and straightforward. It's the band I really, really like, really, really enjoy, and I want the new album.
Cool. My next one is Chemist.
Oh, okay.
Now, they released an EP this year, but that was just like rarities and re-release stuff, and you know, a couple of live tracks. It was a compilation of past done things, rather than any new music. So the actual the Desolation, yeah, that's what it's called, wasn't it? The album that came out was in June 2018. Doesn't feel that long ago. We're actually really like 3 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, probably still listening to it as well.
And I think maybe sometimes I'm taking a picture of the time is here, but I'm thinking like, look, you're all fucking locked down, aren't you? So I mean, what else you been doing? Should be releasing an album a year at the moment. But you know, I'm a massive fan of them. I think anyone who listens to them becomes a massive fan of them. I think it's very difficult to not like Chemist. You know, so yeah, all right, fair enough. 2021 might be a bit soon, but you can hope. So
yeah, big fan of Chemist as well. And keep plugging. Go check out the interview with Chemist on the YouTube channel. Hellions. Do you know Hellions?
Yeah, but only
Aussie
through stuff that you've reviewed.
Australian pop punkers who do fucking phenomenal work on one side and then other times do awful work. They're a proper band that I literally can listen to an album and be like, oh my God, that is amazing. I'm going to be singing that for years. And some of them I'm still singing these days. Other times I'm like, man, that's terrible. Proper hit and miss kind of like that kind of thing. But when they nail it, they're fucking great. The last album, Rue, 2018, has some great bangers on it. Smile is like one of my favorite tracks ever. And I feel like it's time, man. Get back on that. Bring me something else so I can love some of it and hate some of it. Can't wait. Thanks, Hellions. Plus, it's a band me and my son bonded over. We both share an incredible love of passion over it. And it is one of my favorite vinyls, which is like a collection of their last two albums, Rue and Opera Oblivia, which were the two that I got into. Yeah. All from Hellions.
And if you release an album, he'll buy it on vinyl.
Oh, yes.
So my next one, again, probably pushing it a little bit with this one, but Skalmold.
Oh, wow.
So the Icelandic, Viking-y, powery, doomy metal.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm going to let you speak, and then I've got some interesting thoughts on this as well.
So they, obviously I didn't really have an opinion on this band pre-2018, October 2018, when they released the album Sorgia, and it went on to be my album of the year. And I have it on vinyl like you do. I bought some beautiful fucking ice cool kind of blue colored vinyls that they did, some special editions, like to because it's Iceland and it's cold.
Get it out.
I can't, it's not in this room.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's a pride of place, mate. But but in particular, as much I love the album, I really fell for the band because it's kind of cast as a little bit as a power metal sort of band, but they're on the very heavy side of it. There's no like a soaring vocals or anything like that. It's kind of rough and gruff and harsh and kind of like what you imagine a Viking-esque Icelandic environment to be. And in particular, the song on that called Mara, which is like, even to this day, I would say is probably one of my top 10 songs of all time. I fucking adore that song. It's a masterpiece. They did release a live album in 2020, but it's 3 years since the last studio album. Yeah. So I'm not massively optimistic on it, but I think sometimes because those live albums are sometimes positioned as in, we can do then a couple of years either side of it because we've released something, but I'm really excited to see if Sorgia was a one-off for me, because obviously they've got plenty of albums before it and it was really there where I came in, or whether this is now like a new undying love for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So with Skalmold, I mean, you're the influence of that. And I actually ended up reviewing the DVD, the Blu-ray version of that live album, got it sent to me. And it was fascinating to watch them in their home country because they're rabid, those fans, for Skalmold compared to a basically unknown in this country. But what really puzzled me was the interview sections, and they were talking about they weren't going to be doing it anymore. On hiatus, basically. They were going on hiatus. And I was like, okay. And then I looked at the date of the evening and I checked and I was like, wait a minute, they got fucking shows booked. They have shows booked for 2021. What? And then I found out that they did go on hiatus and it was only like for a year. So they are back. They're back. Whatever. I guess it's needed a break. So very possible.
Probably just the wrong term, isn't it? It's probably more like, we're going to take a bit of time for ourselves. Rather than actually we're going to go on hiatus as a band, because that kind of means something different to us, doesn't it? It's like, oh no, they're breaking up.
It was very weird because they had conversations with fans talking about like how like their love of Skalmold and how they were going to miss them. And I'm like, oh, is this like a retirement thing? And then I spent ages trying to find go to Skalmold's Facebook page. I'm like, what? They're still touring. What's going on? So fucking confusing. So if that's the case and they took some time away, that might have reinvigorated. You might very well be in luck there. The Offspring. So the last album, so I had to look for this. The last album was 2012. They had a covers EP in 2014 and a single called Coming For You in 2015. And the only reason I want this is because I want to hear what Offspring sound like in 2021. I want to see.
I didn't even think they were still active.
Yeah.
I thought they like hung their boots up.
No, still going apparently, still doing the odd live show here and there. But yeah, a bit of Offspring in 2021, some nice summery, punky Offspring music. Bang! Why not? I'd love to hear what they've got going on.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of summery pop punk, my next band is 1914. The Ukrainian black and death metal sort of dirty, grindy band. This is like for two things. Like, first of all, they released the album that, you know, I called The Blind Leading the Blind, which I really fell for, on the 11th of November 2018, timed specifically to be released at 11 minutes past 11 on the 11th in commemoration of World War One. Commemoration. So it wasn't like, yay, World War One. It was more like in honor of. In honor,
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? It's like, hey. And it's aside from the fact that album is like insanely heavy, and it's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, concept album of all time, because of the fact that it's the first time I've listened to an album based around a war, Great War or Second World War, that hasn't been glossy and full of heroes. Instead, it was full of mud and dirt and blood and crying and darkness and grime, and it gave you that cold, oppressive feeling of what war probably is really like.
Yeah.
You know, they're probably not all riding into battle on horses going, yeah, we are heroes. This kind of made you feel like they're all shivering in trenches, wishing they were dead. And it's a horrific album, but it's brilliant. But that was, like I said, 2018, so it's not that long ago really, and especially with this sort of music, they can be quite complex to release, and there probably isn't a huge budget behind a band like this. But I am hopeful for a new album, but for two reasons. One, because I think it's fantastic, but two, because I'm wondering what they do now, because they're called 1914 because of World War One. They've done the World War One album. They've released it at the anniversary of World War One. What do they do now? Like, do you change your name to like 1944 and then do World War Two, or do you come away from the concept altogether? And you know what I mean? I'm interested to see what the band structure becomes.
I would think if you're gonna theme your entire band around World War One, then the idea is you start doing battles and stories.
Yeah, it may well be that. Yeah. So I'm interested to see if even that, is that the plan, or are they just called 1914 because that's in honor of the war, right? And actually they might just do their own completely unrelated music. But either way, I love The Blind Lead the Blind, and I'm just really excited and interested to see where they go next.
Become clearly, yeah. You make it. It does start getting fascinating when you start going, yeah. What can you do? Let's see it.
I mean, aside from that, they have to wait 100 years for the next anniversary.
Well, you never know. Okay, talking about fascinating, then my final one. I think you'll agree with me that are the reasons why I want to see something new from this band. I would love, and I know I'm not alone here, for many people who'll be watching this and many people out in the world, I would
why is he defending it before he says it? What's it going to be?
I would love to see a new My Chemical Romance album. So, of course, Danger Days, a decade ago. The last album was 2010. Of course, they quit and stopped the band after that. But then, obviously, pre-pandemic, planned to come back. Pandemic shut all that down. So the live shows and all that. They're still planned for the future. But if you're back, guys, bring us, and you've had this time, bring us a shocker in 2021. Drop something out of the blue. Let's see what My Chemical Romance, decade later, can do. I think that will be an interesting thing to watch, because they were over time. They were over a period. And the world has moved on, as it were. Let's see where they sit. I think that would be, like, I'd check it out instantly. I'd have to check it out, you know?
Yeah, so would I. I'd be interested. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. My Chemical Romance album, yeah!
Went from 1914 to My Chemical Romance.
I'm sure you're going to end with a nice, happy, poppy one.
No, that was it. That was my 10. I started.
What was you started? It absolutely was. There are many, many more, but that was the 10 we came up with. Let us know in the comments what you would love to have this year. We absolutely love reading the comments, applying to you. drop them in. We will have a chat.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?